We begin with Anne. She writes here, I am following your couch to sprint plan, which I can find on Training Peaks, and looking to upgrade my bicycle. Should I get clip-in pedals, and what are the pros and cons? Anne, this is one of those questions when you really start getting into the sport of when and which pieces of equipment you upgrade. And this is a personal preference, I think, but also an experience question of how experienced you are on your bicycle. What do you say, Wendy?
Yeah, those are good points. Now, when I started triathlon, I did my first race on a mountain bike, and I didn't even know what clip-in pedals were. Like, I didn't even know there was such a thing.
But you did that in 1965, too. It was a long time ago when you did your first triathlon.
And so, again, I think being your first race, whatever you have on your bike, I think is sufficient because it's your first race. You don't know how long you're going to be in the sport. You know, you may be one and done. And so why invest in more equipment that you might not need after this first race? So I wanted to start off with that. Second, if you do end up getting clip-in pedals, and you have to purchase shoes, you have to purchase pedals, you have to kind of get a new bike fit a little bit to make sure you're producing the most power, a cleat fit more or less. And so the expense does go up. And if you do this, you will be able to produce more power, which will hopefully equate to more speed as you're pedaling your bike. You're going to learn to pedal in circles. You're going to learn to engage all your muscle groups, quads, hamstrings, calves. And so I think there's definitely a big pro to using clipless pedals.
I agree. Totally. My first was also it was like a cross mountain bike, and I had the shoes that I just put into the cages, and you can tighten those cages down somewhat to help you with the full range of motion on the pull and the push of the pedal stroke. But you're also going to be running those same shoes that you were riding in. So it's kind of it's a weird thing of you can get some hot spots underneath your foot depends on how the foot is positioned.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to mention, I did this video triathlon then and now, and I talk about what kind of equipment and what kind of gear I used, 30 years ago compared to what I use now. The benefit of not having clipless pedals is you're riding assumingly in your running shoes. So it makes for a quicker transition to get off your bike and have your shoes on to just head out for the run.
But there is some efficiency of having that foot part of the bicycle when you are clipped in, because you are one with the bicycle. There's nothing loose there. There's no chance of you slipping out. I've heard people say that when you do get those type of clip-in pedals, that maybe you want to practice on grass or in a field in case you fall down, and also practice clipping in and clipping out. And then depends on the more and more you get into it, the question will become: do I put my shoes on my bicycle in transition? Do I put them on and run with them? We've covered that in previous topics. But for this one right here, the pros and cons, like Wendy said, it's your first time. Go with what you have. If you want to invest in more, then it becomes more of an investment, because you're talking multiple layers here: the shoes, the clips underneath, the type of pedals you have to buy to put on your bicycle. And then what kind of bicycle do you have? Do you already have a road bike, or is it a tri-bike? But since you're doing couch to sprint, you probably have a basic bike, most likely.
It could be a mountain bike. It could be a cross bike.
Yeah.
And just stressing the importance of practice. Don't put them on the day before the race and go racing them. Chances are high you're going to fall as you're practicing clipping in and out. So, start with it. Maybe if you have an indoor trainer, maybe start getting used to clipping in and out stationary. And then, like Dave said, go on the grass and then practice in your neighborhood, because you just want to remember when you're approaching a stop sign or a stoplight, you have to unclip. And it's a little bit different. And that's usually where people will fall to the side, because they're slowing down and they forget they have to unclip in order to stop.
And you said something that was important is a bike fit. And for Anne and anyone else who is looking to make that transition, there is a position where what part of the foot is that called? Whatever the front part of the foot is called, not the heel, but the forefront.
The forefoot.
Yeah, the forefoot.
Forefoot.
Yeah, you can be too far forward based on how the clips are underneath the shoe, or too far back, and that may affect your mechanics, whether it's your knee alignment, your hip, how your foot is in it.
Yeah.
And how you press down. There needs to be a certain balance of where that is, and you need to have fitted correctly. You can get cramping issues in your calf if you're doing it the wrong way on how you push and pull. So I mean, I don't want to scare anyone away from getting clip-in pedals, but there are some things that you got to balance out.
Yeah.
Good question, Ann. I mean, we've all been there, and some of us who are listening, are making that transition. So good question about upgrading your bike and getting clip-in pedals.